Midwest, the cowboy, the Western art, and so forth and so on. So it's probably about time that I do this, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. Now, remember last week, this is an acrylic painting, by the way, on an 18 by 24 stretched canvas. Those of you that are oil painters, yes, you can use this as an oil painting subject. So either one of these mediums work good with all the subjects I teach on these programs. Now, remember, we left off last week putting in this atmosphere. I want it to look kind of like rain, misty day. At the end of the day, the cowboys have, they've got their herd bedded down from the cattle drive. They're tired. They're wet. I took a whole bunch of photographs. Here's one of the cowboys I'm going to use here working on his horse. There, see, that's the slicker. And so I'm going to show you what I've done. After we got this background in here, I sketched in me an old chuck wagon. I just kind of made it up based on things I've seen and a couple of reference photos I have. I'm going to put probably a silhouette of a horse here. I'll probably have this cowboy bent over kind of right there in this area. And then I may have another cowboy standing over here by the chuck wagon with his hat on there. And then we have the campfire right through here, right in this area. And then we're going to have some mud puddles and things like that. This is going to be a fascinating painting to create this atmosphere. But the first thing we want to do is kind of block in this old chuck wagon. Now, the thing about the chuck wagon is, and I'll see if I can find my reference material on it here, I don't want to copy this. I just want to get my idea from it. So what I want to do here is, this is the canvas top. Now, they either had canvas or some kind of a top. They had the old covered wagons. They had the little droopy tops on them. You can see that there. And this is just all canvas top here. Now, remember, folks, we only want this to be sort of there, not there. This is the challenge in this painting to create some impressionistic, very subtle silhouetted type effect and still give it atmosphere. So let's go down here now to our power. We're going to take our number 6, or let's start with the number 4 bristle brush. Now, remember, we had this area where we were working with the gray tones. So we just go back to your gray, which would be burnt, a little ultramarine blue, burnt umber, a little bit of white, a bit of turquoise. And I want to just kind of block in this wagon. Now, you can make any wagon here you want. You can make your own wagon. This is just how you do it. I'm a big fan of being very creative. Now, the first thing I want to do is, this is the canvas top right here. I want to make the value not too much brighter than this. So, I know this is going to be a little hard to understand, but you want to go ahead and make it just slightly darker. Let's see if this is going to do it. Yeah, see, that's just a little bit darker. It's kind of a warm color. Well, I'm going to go ahead and block this in. Yeah, this will just be kind of cool to get this in here. Just kind of smush that in. See, that's sort of that tan color. Just take your brush. This is called dry brush blending. Because all we're going to do here, folks, is get the suggestion of this old chuck wagon. Did a watercolor painting some time ago of an old chuck wagon with a bandit out on the desert, and it was kind of fun to do that too. Now notice how it's dull and gray, even the edges kind of blurry and soft. So that's kind of the shape of the outer part of the wagon. I might go out just a little bit further there with this. Okay, now down here across the bottom and on the back here, now just so you know, the chuck wagon, the kitchen part was on the back of the wagon. So this little part right here, so it's got a sort of a little angled cupboard. It's got their goods in it. And then on the front, this is the front of the wagon where the tongue was, where the horse was hitched. So this part right here is the little thing that they set on. So we'll go ahead and take a little bit of blue and brown. We'll make that just a tad bit different color. Maybe it's a little darker, a little grayer. And we're still in the underpainting phase. Now remember, I got to just ask that you trust me with this. This is part of the old, there. And then this part here, you can see I kind of sketched in where the wheels go. Well, I only did that to give me a perimeter, but this is the box that the wagon sits on. So I'm going to go ahead and block that in. We're going to make it just dark enough to show up a little darker than the canvas top there. I want to be able to see the side of the wagon. and then the spoke, the hub right there, it's another mistake. Has to go below the angle of this wagon because that's where the spoke goes underneath. A lot of people get the center of the wheel up too high, so be sure it's below that. And then we'll kind of flip this a little bit. And guys, watch me just paint this because it's kind of hard to explain this painting. It's got so many subtle elements in it that will probably drive some of you nuts. Of course, for artists, we work so hard trying to perfect our craft, and sometimes we just get frustrated because things aren't working. Well, this should go pretty well for you if you keep your tones very soft and very subtle. Now, here's the cupboard. It's angled, so I'm going to put some straight lines across here with some darker tones. I'm going to block this in a little darker because these will be the little holes where they set the canned goods and the flour and stuff like that. It's kind of a stair-step effect going down here. I know this is going to drive some of you a little bit, that's just for a little while, probably until the next session or two. When you see this clean up and start to look more like something, right now it just doesn't look like anything. You're thinking, what is going on? But you'll see what it's all about here soon. It's like drawing with your brush here. I don't like to sketch that much when I'm painting with my pencil or charcoal. Sometimes I'll pre-sketch it on paper to get an idea, of course. But when I'm painting, I like to work with my brush to create everything. Well, that's why it's real rough. Let's square this up. This darker here. Now then, get that done there. Of course, the spokes will go, the axle will go underneath right across behind there. You won't see that actually, to tell you the truth. Alright, now then. The reason you see me going back and working around so quickly, I'm making sure that my edges are blurred. That's why you see me doing this. In fact, I'm going to switch to one of these little chisel edge brushes. You all are familiar with those. This is the number 2 chisel edge, sort of synthetic brush. You can get squarer edges now, so just go back down in here. Now, this is the best one, the number 2. And I'm going to square these up now because of the chisel, I can make a square, cleaner edge. It's just like making a set of steps. And you're just going to have to trust me. And where have you heard that before? Just trust me. The check is in the mail. Well, folks, in this case, it really is. Impressionism is not only hard to teach, but it's also very hard to learn. Because remember, that's exactly your job, is to kind of create the suggestion of something. You'll see this is the side of the box right here. Now, put a little more darkness right here. The bottom of the wagon is, or the bed of the wagon. Okay, now we're getting closer to the things I want to see here. Alright, now there's also a steel rim that goes around right here. We can't really put that in until later. But what I do want to do right now, these rims are here that hold the canvas. And so we want to go ahead and just thin this down a little bit, this color. And we want to go ahead and kind of block these in just a little bit. Yeah, nice, a little bit darker tone, so you can kind of see the ribbing. That helps to kind of clean it up just a touch. Just be sure you go back and soften it now. That's pretty important. Yeah, and this is just the canvas cover. It covers up the wagon, all the stuff that's in there, all their supplies. And they had to take a lot of flour. They ate a lot of biscuits. And I talked to a couple of old cowboys, and that's exactly what they said. They said, well, what was your main meal? And, well, we ate a lot of biscuits and hardtack, which is just, that kind of thing, beef jerky, anything that was easy. But then at the end of the day, they always had to cook. And one of the things that the trail bosses always, they said, made sure of, that these cowboys work so hard. I always try to give them a good hot meal, at least one meal at the end of the day, and that was usually beans, biscuits, sometimes for some kind of beef, almost always. Very rarely did they get any desserts, but every once in a while one of the cooks would make some kind of a pastry kind of thing, and it was really a fascinating lifestyle. Okay, now you see you got it kind of blocked in soft, dull tones. We're going to leave it that way for the moment. Now your sketch on your wheels, I'm going to have to say, for those of you that struggle with these ellipses, you're going to have to work on that. But in this case, they don't have to be perfect because it's just blurred in the rain and the mist that we're going to have in here. And now I'm going to quickly switch to my number 4 bristle brush. I want you to go back to some of these darker tones. And underneath the wagon here, I want you to drag in just a little bit of a dark, a little darker than that. This will be sort of a shadow underneath it. Just get a little darker under here. Just kind of scrub it. Just to give a little shading underneath here. Now remember, there's going to be other things in here. There's going to be the campfire, a couple of horses, a couple of cowboys, and debris sitting around in mud puddles. So everything has to be very subtle and soft and not too edgy. Alright, now you can come in there and you can put your wagon wheels in. You just have to get this underneath here to kind of create the full shading. Alright, now this area right here is where your wheels are going to go. Now I'm going to switch to my number 4 round sable brush. Let me get it out of my bag over here that I forgot to get out. And one of the things you guys can do, you don't want to use your script brush on these things because it makes the lines too skinny. So I like to use my number 4 round sable because you get a little fatter line. So go down here, take the brush, make a real dark mixture of blue and brown, all it is, thin it down where it's real creamy, almost soupy. Now this is where you're going to have to use your hand, or if you have a mold stick, go ahead and now you make your ellipse. To create the first wheel there, and you can kind of straighten them out later. And then the second one's here. Now remember, not all wagons are the same. Believe me, don't think I'm an expert on wagons, because I'm not. But on the cargo wagons and some of the other types of wagons, the wheels were these real stocky ones that had to be really sturdy to hold the load. But in some of them, the wheel on the back was the larger one and the front one was a little smaller. And frankly, folks, I can't tell on this one, but it looks like they're both about the same size. So, somebody that's more expert at this than me can probably write them. Almost always, I will hear from somebody when I get something wrong, and I like that because I think it's fun to be fairly accurate. And so I'm sure somebody out there will know. And I just kind of get the shape of the wheels, and then I start I'll put the little hub here, just a little blob, really is all that is for now. And then we'll kind of clean this up later. Well, again, just like in every painting, we'll do a lot of detail work towards the end. Right now, we're just kind of getting everything still blocked in there. So there's your basic layout on the chuck wagon. Now, the other thing we want to think about is, I want to go to work on some of this foreground real quick. Let's go back down here now and take your number 4 bristle brush. And we want to get some lighter values to pick up some of the sky color for the puddles. So now I take a little bit of gesso, a little bit of blue, a little bit of turquoise, go back to this gray, and get it just a little lighter than the underpainting. And I don't know what that is until we try it. Now that's probably pretty close to that value right there. Now this will be like a mud puddle here. What you do is you take that color and you just kind of smush it on. It's kind of thin. There's a little mud puddle, maybe a little puddle there. You might have some water that's kind of coming all the way through this base right here. I'm keeping my strokes very horizontal. I think I'll put some more down there. I think I better put a little more blue in this. Let's go back to this, you guys. This is probably, this is more about, keeping in theme with the atmosphere. We want this to have a nice, cool gray tint to it. See, I made it just a little bluer. Yeah, there we go. I think I'll be happier with that. Don't get it too blue and don't get it too strong because it won't work. See, I'm just kind of tapping it in around. What that does, it gives you the suggestion that there are little bits of water scattered around, little puddles, pools. I'll take it right off the canvas here. This is kind of cool. And of course, we know our fire is going to go here, the campfire. And even though you still have to get all the atmosphere in. It's really shaping up. I love this effect already. I think it's cool. I'm going to lay out the location of the fire, some of the underpainting of it too. So we're going to go back to our number 4 or number 2 chisel edge brush here. Now let's just take some umber and a little blue, go back to some dark, because this will be where the wood is piled up. I really am hoping to get today's session just kind of everything located that's major subject. And then next week, when we meet, we'll start, putting details in, highlights and stuff. See, this is just where the fire is. And if you just come in here like this and just start putting a lot of movement, irregular brush strokes to kind of give yourself a suggestion of wood piled up like this. See, just a lot of brush strokes. Sticks laying around. Yeah, and then there'll probably be a thing here that's got a pot of beans cooking on. Oh, they always had beans. Oh my gosh, can you imagine that? Having beans for dinner every night. But they did. Beans were cheap, easy to fix. They lasted. They could eat them 2 or 3 nights in a row. Bacon, a lot of bacon. They had bacon, salt cured bacon, and meats were easy to. They didn't have refrigeration, obviously, so they had to do, what they could with those curing things and salt. And the bacon was really salty, of course, but that's what they had to do. All right, now you've got your area where the fire's going to go. That'll be kind of neat. Now I do have a horse back here. I'm not going to block him in just yet because I don't want to get too carried away with that. But if there's any trees or anything in the background, this will be the time to do that now. Very suggestive trees. Now this is where you would take I'm going to go ahead and take my number 4 bristle brush. I'm going to just suggest, take it back to the soft gray now. This is really important. I'm getting ready to show you. If there are any trees in behind the wagon, you want to just take your brush like this and just kind of sketch them in, see where they barely show up. You don't want to be too strong. That's too brown. I want it to be grayer than that. So I'm going to put a little more blue and white in the mixture. Yeah, there we go. And I'm just going to have, a couple of distant trees back in there. Maybe 1 or 2 back here. These trees are just trees. They're not necessarily have to be connected to anything. And in the midst, by the way, at the end of the painting, I might mention this to you guys so you'll know where we're headed. When we're done on the 4th or 5th lesson, however long it takes, we're going to put glazes over this at an angle to create the suggestion of wind and rain. So that's kind of what this is all about. So that's why you're seeing me paint so blurry and so a little bit more uncontrolled. And that's important for this. So you don't get a whole lot. And I'm going to put a bigger tree over here. Got one back in here. That's why you see me taking it kind of smudgy out. Kind of let it feather. You can take your finger and blur it a little bit there if you want to. There's a whole different technique that most of you haven't seen me do before or even teach because it's very suggestive. This is just a whole, maybe they're on the edge of a little grove of trees out on the prairie, which they have. And You know, even though you think of the prairie as a dust bowl and some things, there's still little areas where little patches of trees. They would always try to find a place like that. Now we're going to be planting some kind of eye stopper. So let's go ahead and put like one over here on this side. Kind of leaning in a little bit. Kind of blur that a little bit. That's it. This goes back to the dry brush technique. So it kind of looks like it's coming in and out of the mist. Don't get too many. Looks like there's a couple right back in there. Might be kind of nice. I sketched those in. I think I have a couple back in there. And then we'll add some little limbs on them with our script brush here in a second. And that'll kind of help make this look a little more like they're on the edge of the, right? See the prairies come here and they backed up into this little place where they can kind of have their little camp. Let's make this larger tree over here a little bit darker because it's a little more forward. We'll stick with the same rules, folks. You know, things get a little darker. We'll see, I'll make this one a tad darker, bigger trunk, of course. But I just want to keep it smudgy. See, I'm keeping it smudgy. Nice place to probably get out of the rain. And, then you have a few little limbs on it. Could be a winter. Yeah, I really, you know, you can put leaves on these trees, but I'm afraid to get too far into that kind of stuff. I'm going to keep this sort of maybe a winter day. Not necessarily snow, although you could have snow. Then you can have a canopy of limbs coming out over here to kind of pull your eye back into the setting. I think that would be kind of cool. Now, real quick, I want to show you something. While you've got this wet, take a little white. Now, I want you to come along here and hit this edge. See, I'm kind of tapping this edge. What that does, folks, that kind of softens it and blends it into the background a little. You're still trying to work out hard edges. Critical. Because our final step in this painting is the dry brush streaks to create the suggestion of rain, fog, mist, and all that stuff, wind. And you've got to have these blurred edges in order for it to really be that effective. So I'll put a little white in there, kind of softening the edges just a touch. And that puts you back in business of having really blurred subjects, which are really needed. Plus, this is a big old dead tree, probably, and it needs to have a little soft texture to it. Okay, yeah, I like that. Looks good. Now you can take your script brush. Yay, everybody's favorite thing. Right down here, and we'll add a few limbs. I don't want to get carried away with this either. But you know the rule here, take your script brush, this is the number 4 sable script, roll your brush, get a nice soft gray, blend it in. Now come back here and just add the limbs. Lots of little limbs coming off back in here. See how we're doing that? And this will help to kind of finish this background out. And then next week when we meet, folks, we'll be ready to start detailing. We'll probably block in the horse, a couple of the cowboys, get the fire blocked in. But you've got to get some of this background stuff done first, or if nothing else works. So now I'm coming in here and get all these little twiggy branches that I think are kind of fun. And a lot of you are scared of. You know, the script brush still generates a lot of fear for people. Fear because you're thinking you're going to mess it up. Well, look how far I'm holding it back here. Keep in mind, it's all about where you hold the brush. You come down here, and again, if the wind's kind of blowing, you want to don't make all your limbs, you know, kind of bend them a little bit, maybe. Once you get some of the main structures in there, you can kind of bend them over a little bit. Just start adding that atmosphere on your own here. Got some limbs coming down from the top, because we know that tree's going to overlap. And sometimes you can just take little wispy strokes like this to suggest, you know, the limbs going all directions, because this is just background. Into the forest. Man, this is getting cooler and cooler. Can't wait to see the end result. You guys are not, you really won't believe it, I don't think, because This painting starts out so funny, and it just ends up so beautiful and so cool, so fun. And you get the yellow slickers in here. It gets this cool background. Then your complement's working. Your color harmonizing is working. Everything's working. Now, can you see how that's developing there, folks? That's really a necessary step, what we're doing right now. It's very important. And now let's do a little on this side. Just enough to give these a little bit more finish. And then we're just about ready to end this program, folks. Unfortunately, man, doesn't the time fly when you're doing, it's kind of like painting at home. Most of you probably know this. Sometimes I'll just forget it's lunch or breakfast or dinner, whatever it is I'm doing. I'll just keep painting. And I just kind of forget everything. And that's what I love about painting. It's extremely therapeutic. Okay, now this is about where this painting needs to be between now and our next session, folks. Get everything laid out. You can even go in here if you want to and put the spokes in. Like right now, I can come in here and put the spokes in. Because we're not detailing, we're just suggesting. So your spokes would go in just crossing each other like this. Once again, just to get the suggestion of the form so you can kind of see that. And that's what I would do. So get all your background material in, because next week is when this painting really starts to take on a whole different form. So I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit more work on my wagon wheel here. You can just put a cross like that where they line up with each other on the other side. That's all you'll have to do to make these work. Okay? So just get these few odds and ends done, folks, and then you'll be ready for the grand finale. And you'll be surprised. It's almost like magic. Well, anyway, we've got to go. I hate to leave you, but get as much done as you can. Hope you'll join us next time. You're going to be amazed what's going to happen. So God bless.